Thanks for joining us for the final episode of Insecure's After Show The Wind Down.
Woo!
On this very special occasion, we are going to unpack our epic series finale and why we ended the show the way we did. So, Issa, are you ready to dive in?
I'm so ready to dive in.
Oh, my God.
Final clink. Well, second to last clink. So this final episode goes through a series of time jumps and tells our story as we pass through months and even years of our characters' lives. And now that all is revealed, we see the way that things close out for our characters.
So you wrote the final episode, which is very fitting given the history of the show, of course. So tell us in all honesty, when did you know you wanted Issa to walk into the sunset with Lawrence?
From the very jump of writing this season, I think I knew that I didn't want them together. And I was very confident about that. I was like, I want more for our girl. And I felt like we had told their love story and it ended tragically, but I still wanted a healthy love story. And so I was like, it's gonna work for Issa and Nathan. And the more and more we started going into it, I was like, that's not, like, I felt like Issa, like, I love him, but I know who my guy is.
You know, we toyed with, like, is it Nathan, is it Lawrence, is it Crenshaw? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, is it somebody that we just pick up that's like a random person that we haven't followed, right?
Yeah.
Because we know we're gonna end on Issa Molly, right? We always knew that, but it still felt like the level of investment of the person is gonna be like the most interesting version of that is Lawrence. And you and I talked early on, because one of the things we wanted to explore about people being okay, right, was this idea of, well, I didn't get the things I wanted, but like, is that okay?
Yeah.
Right, and I think that was the journey.
I didn't get the season 2 fantasy that I thought that I was gonna get with Lauren. The end of season 2, we're moving in, we're married, we have a child together, and in a way, you get that. It's just not the way you thought it was gonna look like. But are you gonna be okay? Yeah, I think so.
Obviously, you know, when you're ending a series, right, there's all this pressure of like finales that have come before you, right? Like the Sopranos finale and how people feel about that, or Game of Thrones finale, you know. You don't want to end it where everything is wrapped up all cute, because that doesn't seem right. But you also don't want to end it in a place where, like, I've been watching 5 years, like, to feel sad. Like, but you want to be honest, right? And I think Amy Aniobi, you know, one of our writers and our director, really freed us from the pressure of ending the show. She was like, guys, like, let's just end it as if these characters' lives are just gonna continue on. It's just we're jumping out the plane.
Yeah, we're not landing the plane.
We're not landing the plane, exactly.
Jumping out of it.
Exactly.
And the ride still continues.
And that's what I think felt really satisfying, was that it took us, sometimes it's not about where you end up, it's really how you get there. And say that if, like, you and I or us in the room are having real debates in real time, we want to put that in the show. And the debate that the girls actually have in 507 of I don't want to be a dumb bitch, you and I actually had that dialogue that you and Tiffany have, but that is the journey that people have to go through. And it took a year for her, or to, you know, whatever time for her to process. I had to grow. And we wanted to use Molly's mom passing, not just as this sort of like dramatic thing that happens, right? But it actually kind of in some way refocuses our characters on like what's important at the end of the day. And but like life is too short. And you sort of say that when you're talking to Lawrence, when you call for his birthday, and it certainly resonates at the end of the episode when you guys are sort of having that last moment together before Molly's wedding. So it is really nice to see all those things kind of like dovetail for these characters' growth.
So many tragic life events have pulled friendships apart. And I know that we didn't want that for Issa and Molly, but it could still, you know, make it harder to get together and harder to forge that bond that they've carried throughout these seasons.
One of the things we talk about in the show is this love story between you and Molly. And there's a moment in the show when you are helping her out of her dress, but it is kind of like the last moment we see you guys actually like together in the frame, right? So I'm curious what that day was like, and what does it mean to you to have a show where for the most part of this show, these women were like the best of friends, family, like sisters?
Everything, you know, I think about my own friendships, and I think about my friendship that's developed with Yvonne over the course of, you know, 6 years creating this. And it was such an emotional day. You know, it was Issa sending her friend off into the next chapter of her life. It was this moment of them kind of reckoning and acknowledging everything that they had been through. They found each other and they've loved each other through all of their flaws, and that thank you meant so much.
When we started season 1, could you imagine that fans would be so invested, or that they'd harass you online or in person to make the show longer, or get mad when Issa made life decisions or dated certain men? Like, did you think it would just be this?
I mean, you know, like we were in such a vacuum
Yeah.
in that first season, especially. We just wanted to get, like, to stay on the air. We just wanted to tell our stories and tell it the way that we wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, you imagine this audience of family and friends and
Sure.
things like that, but you don't know who's gonna be watching the show, and
Right.
you hope they like it. But I get fake annoyed, I get real annoyed, but it really is a true blessing to have people so
100%.
invested. Like, these characters are part of people's lives
Yeah.
in such a rich way, and you can only dream of creating characters like that.
You know, a lot of times if you're in the white world of Hollywood, if you're making a black show, it's like, let's get every black person, everybody black person knows already. Because we just want to make sure people know these people, right? But white shows kind of get a chance to take a chance on an indie person that you never heard of before,
Yeah.
right? And I think that was the thing that I thought you were so smart in the beginning was like, let's kind of do what Spike Lee did, find people that will grow out of that, right?
Yeah.
And like the next wave of black talent. And so you got to personalize and make Issa be whoever you wanted Issa to be for yourself. Same with Molly, same with Lawrence. They felt like every people, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that helped always keep the show feeling like, oh, that's not like, you know, Denzel Washington as his dad. So I think that helps you become more also invested. When we first met and sat down, like not too far from here actually, you know, for me, my goal was always like, hey, I want to make sure you get to tell the stories you want to tell. But you obviously had a different challenge too, because you had to adapt it from a web series, right, into like a totally different form in so many ways. So
the web series was what it was, and I wanted to create something new for this network. And I don't know that I had the expectations of where I wanted the series to go, where I wanted every character to go. I knew the journey that I wanted to take them on, but like this has exceeded everything that I imagined that it would be in the best way. And I'm forever grateful for that.
what I think is so great about the show is like getting to watch it change and grow with each person that we brought on. So like, I read the script one way, but then we brought Melina on and it like elevated it to another place. Right? You just continue to see this thing grow and grow and grow. So just to piggyback your point, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, the people behind the scenes made the show what it is.
I agree. You know, the city in which like we both grew up in LA is a huge part of the show, you know, and you know, we always talked about the way that Scorsese or Spike Lee or Woody Allen sort of make these sort of love letters to New York, right?
Yeah.
Why was it important for you to sort of make a show that was sort of love letter, not just to LA, but the specific part of LA that normally doesn't get seen?
I think it's that, you know, it's what you just said, and it's just, I felt like LA is always represented as either Hollywood, the glamour and glitz, or the hood, and the in-between doesn't really exist, especially the in-between as it relates to us.
Right.
And that was so important for me to portray. The finale was initially, half of it was gonna be in Morocco. 3/4 of it was gonna be in Morocco just to pay off Issa and Molly's like the fantasy destination. And it was a great episode.
It was.
But it wasn't in LA. And it just didn't feel right. So we wanted to give LA a good ending as well.
Yeah, LA, we also had a Rihanna impersonating.
Rebaba.
Rebaba.
R.I.P. Rebaba.
R.I.P. Rebaba. That's our fake Rihanna concert in Morocco.
So, Prentice, in your opinion, is Issa finally secure?
I think so, but the question is the word like final has a weird thing on it, right? I think you and I have always talked about, and I think we talked about this almost day one about the series, was that the real ending of the show is when you get secure in your insecurities and knowing the insecurities won't ever leave, right? And so it's understanding that I'll go through ups and downs and all that, but I don't have to have these sweeping reactions. Like in the first 2 seasons, Issa's always like, this thing happens, I'm gonna be a no fucks bitch, or I'm gonna be a this, I'm gonna be a that, as opposed to being like, you know what, I'm gonna ride this wave a little bit and just be uncomfortable as it's uncomfortable and then grow out of it. So if I was to say, I think she finally recognizes that real security comes from understanding there kind of is no final version of being fully secure.
Well said. To our dedicated viewers, we thank you guys for riding with us for the past 5 seasons, and we hope that you enjoyed this journey as much as we did. We will miss you. Insecure, we hope, lives in your hearts forever. Thank you guys for rocking with us and for letting these characters into your homes every Sunday.
Thank you. Nobody has to tweet and make it an hour anymore.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.